All right, last section, lesson 2.9, section 5.7 in your booklets. All right, interpreting graphs of linear functions. Any line, please scratch that, make that line, okay? Any line that is not vertical represents a function. So if you have a vertical line, that's not a function, but anything else, it could be horizontal, slant, we call these linear functions. All right, the x-coordinate of the point where the graph intersects or crosses the x-axis is called the x-intercept or horizontal intercept. Okay? X-intercept and horizontal intercept. And that point will be represented by x0. Okay? Because when you cross the x-axis, right, y is going to be 0 at that point. We have to determine what the x value is. Okay? So I'm actually going to, on the top here, top corner, I'm going to make an x and a y, x and a y axis here. So this is x and this is y. And I'm going to use a different color for a line. So let's say we have a line that goes like this. And this is a line f of x. We know that here, this is called, right, it crosses the x-axis. So this is called the x-intercept visually, right? And this point right here is called the y-intercept. This is called the vertical, right? The vertical intercept. This is called the horizontal intercept. So you gotta make sure you remember that. It crosses the horizontal axis, which is x, right? The x-axis. So this is the horizontal intercept, vertical intercept. And so the coordinates of this point will always be x0, okay? X will obviously be a number down the road, and this one will be 0, y, okay? Because x is 0 here. You're not moving sideways with regards to the origin, so that's what that is, okay? So this is summarized here. The y-intercept is the vertical intercept, and it's denoted by 0, 0y, okay? So that's how we're going to talk about that. And let's see how that is being used, okay? So, because those points are always moving forward, grade 11 applied, grade 11 pre-cal. And moving forward, x and y intercepts are extremely important to us. And in a word problem, they actually always mean something within that context, okay? So very, very important for you to understand this. It's not just a point, it means something specifically, okay? We can use the intercepts of a linear function to find the x-intercept. All right, we substitute y is equal to 0. To find the y-intercept, we substitute x is equal to 0. So here we're going to find those intercepts mathematically, algebraically, okay? And we use those to graph. Now, this is going to be, we're going to break this down. We're going to make this into 3 columns. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that here already, so you know how much space to leave as you're writing this down, right? So that approximately that would probably be enough room there. Okay, so first of all, we're going to find the x-intercept. And that is when y is equal to 0. Then we're going to find the y-intercept. And that is when x is equal to 0. And then we're going to find one other point to graph this, because we eventually want to sketch this function on here. Okay, so here we go. It's kind of like our table. So we start with the equation, which is 2x minus 4. When y is equal to 0, right, we substitute that in, and it's 2x minus 4. In this case, you add 4 to both sides or bring the 4 over. It's going to be positive, and that's going to be equal to 2x. And then we just divide both sides by 2. And so x is equal to 2. So what have you found? Okay, you found that when y is equal to 0, x is going to be equal to 2. So that's actually what I want you to write down every time. That's the coordinate of the x-intercept. Y-intercept, you start with the same equation, except for now we plug in, right, 0 for x. And so that ends up being that, and that ends up being 0, -4. Okay, so that's another point. That's your y-intercept. Now we're going to choose one more point. Okay, you can literally assign x any value along this line and it will find the y value for it. Because remember, this is like a factory. You can plug anything in you want for x and it's going to return a y value for it. To make it easier, I'm just going to say x is equal to 1. Okay, let's see what the y value is when x is equal to 1. If this had been a function, we're basically finding f of 1. Okay, so y is equal to 2 times 1 minus 4. We're using that equation. I should have written it down here first just so you understand that you have the video, you can watch it multiple times. 2 minus 4, y is equal to -2. Okay, so what have you found? You have found the point that when x is equal to 1, y is equal to -2. There are your 3 points. Okay, so I'll make a note here. Okay, find one other point. Okay, exclamation mark. You pick the x value. And calculate the corresponding y value. Okay, that's basically what's happening here. Could you find more than 3 points? Absolutely. But we want you to find 3 points and graph this. All right, let's start here. 2, 0, right? Always starting at the origin. 2, 0, that's my x-intercept. That's where we expected it to be, the horizontal intercept. Okay, then the next point is 0, -4. That's my y-intercept. So 0, you're not moving. -4 is right here. And then 1, -2 is right here. Okay, so now you have your 3 dots, and we're going to graph this thing. Make sure you use a ruler, and you want to make sure all 3 dots are perfectly lined up. And you graph your line and make sure you use up most of the graph. Okay, because that line, this is the equation of a line that actually goes on forever. Okay, there are no restrictions to it yet. There's no word problem around it. So we can have negatives, positive, everything. We have just identified 3 points that lie on this line. Okay, so let's label the coordinates. That's also very, very important. So this is 1, -2. I label after I drew my line just to make sure I don't cross them or anything. I would use a pencil. I'm just using a pen now for this. And make sure you label your axes. Okay, everything is there. And this is the one that a lot of you are going to lose marks on if you don't do it. Make sure you always put the equation on there somewhere. Okay, so that's how you do one of those. And what I'm going to do here, elements required for full marks when graphing, right? If you want to get full marks, minimum of 3 points shown, right? You have to have used most of the grid. So what I mean is some students just go just those 3 points and that's it. No, these are just there to help you graph. You extend it, right? Unless there's a restriction. Arrowheads. That's only if applicable. Straight edge. Straight lines, basically. Equation, right? X, Y axis, and scale when it comes to labels, right? When it comes to labels, it's these three that I want you to have in there for sure. And these other ones are just little notations there. Make sure you label points as well, right? Your points should also be labeled, and then you will be fine. Just make it complete, take the extra time, do it right, okay? Pause it there, copy it. Now let's do this one. And again, we're going to use the same format here. Graph this by determining the x-intercept, y-intercept, and one more point. I don't have to tell you that, but for now we are, right? So x-intercept, y is equal to 0. Y-intercept, x is equal to 0. One more point is there. So we're going to break this down. Okay. So y is equal to negative 3x plus 6. I wish we had a fractional rate of change here. This is your rate of change. You will see later on. But it is what it is. So I think I'm gonna close this video and do a separate video for this because I see we're gonna run out of time already.